I'm still Ray, and I've started this channel to bring some chai chats online.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we were talking today at morning tea and thinking about what we wanted to put on this channel. So, essentially what it is we're on the healing journey. So I wanted to bring some of the experience I've gained over the years, because my healing journey probably in full effect started in 2009, but it started way before that, and I thought it would be a good idea to start this video channel so our lessons and our experiences could help others. So
Hi, I'm Tom. Together with Stella, we're going to bring you some, as you said, some chats that we've been having over the while, and about growing, about ascension, about many different topics. And we'll be introducing them as we go on a weekly kind of basis.
Maybe depending.
Yeah. We're not going to run to a strict time scale because the universe doesn't really run that way. So when we feel called to do it, we'll be sending our own experiences and messages.
Yeah.
It's really what it is.
Yeah, sometimes it'll be me, sometimes it will be you, sometimes maybe we'll bring somebody else, other people on the channel, we'll see. We'll just let it flow and see where this all goes. So, at breakfast today we were talking about the Ascension. What has that been like for you?
Well, it's definitely not an easy path. But it's a rewarding path if you get past the hurdles. I think it's a path to growing as an individual, as a human, into a more full human, I guess. If you're like me, if you had emotional issues, you got to face up to that, and you say, well, look, I've got to grow, I've got to change. And if you get a little bit of needling, like I've received, it helps. Guidance definitely helps. You got to reach outside yourself. It's uncomfortable, but at the same time, you can't become a better version of yourself by just staying the way you are. It doesn't work. So
when you're saying reach outside of yourself, is that finding community?
It can be. It's finding the missing parts of yourself. It's finding the parts that really take away from a whole human being.
So could it also be seen as a journey inwards, finding yourself? Yes. Okay.
Most definitely inwards. Inwards is where most of the work, I would believe, has to be done.
And when we talk about Ascension, essentially what it is the awakening, the spiritual awakening of the human. So we are made up of ego and spirit or soul, right? It's spirit and soul, really. And what the ego does, it protects the human. And the soul wants to break out and expand. So that ascension or the awakening or the ego death and the awakening. So it's all talking about the same kind of thing. It's the journey to wholeness. Would you say that?
I think so, yeah. I think that's accurate. I think in a way death is the key word. You have to die to those things maybe you're clinging onto that really don't serve you.
And it doesn't have to be a physical death, right?
No.
So it could be maybe a death or like with your identity. So a lot of people, maybe they would go through a job loss, big job loss, break up a marriage, illness, or just start questioning, who am I, why am I here, kind of thing, and go on that journey of self-discovery.
And I think the other thing is to look upon things that happen in our lives as opportunities to change. That's a big factor. Not everything is bad. Potentially we can take good from it, and I think that's the lessons we should strive to learn, is to make good or take good out of those situations.
For example, like say you you know, you have your mom and dad, and like they're telling you what to do, right? Like as you're growing up, they're saying, oh, you have to be an accountant. You know, accountants makes lots of money, and then maybe it doesn't sit well with you, and that causes a trigger. Do you think you've experienced anything like that?
A few too many. Yeah, a few too many.
Okay.
Okay, not too many, but I've got, I suppose lately more so, but I've had a lot of opportunities to improve, and you know, now I'm thankful for them. But you know, when you're faced with those things, you see, oh no, what's gonna happen to me? I'll never be the same again. But if you turn that around, you say, oh, well, shit, I'll never be the same again. And that's the good part of it. You know, that's really, you say, I'm not going to go back that way of living. I've turned the corner.
Yeah. So the triggers can be interpersonal or, you know, on your own. It doesn't matter. But there really are opportunities for growth. It's like the universe handing you on your plate. You know, these are the lessons. You know, look at this. This is where you can improve. It doesn't feel like that most of the time.
No. And it can come from many different sources and many different areas. Some are triggered, some are realizations, some are readings that you have, meditations, many different sources. And there's a lot of people out there kind of willing to help now, especially people on these ascension paths.
Yeah. So, how do triggers happen in relationships?
Well, it can be a word, it can be a sentence, a phrase, it can be an attitude.
Maybe a
it
behavior.
can be, throwing down the cloth on the floor, you know, tripping over the dog.
Or maybe something happening in your past and reminds you of that situation.
Yeah, well, especially they can be
Your big triggers.
big triggers, yeah.
Or else you could be just sitting there watching a TV and then up pops, you know, electric advert, and you just don't
your
like
hat's
the
gone up
prices.
again, your bills are gone up, yay.
Yeah. So these are, the trigger happens when you have a wound, and if you think about a wound, you know, it's open skin and it's quite painful, and like we put a little bandage or plaster on it. But because we're so protective of it, we never take off the bandage and the plaster, and we're always like over tending to it, making sure it never gets touched. So anytime someone comes and brushes against it, it's like woof.
Yeah, very sensitive.
Yeah. And then by healing these wounds, if you want to call it wounds, it really gives us the opportunity to bring back more of our power, really, our life force, and claim back more of ourselves, to be whole. And being whole on the ascension path or the awakening journey is like finding yourself.
I think especially since as we go through life, we kind of give away part of ourselves in various situations, and we cover up, or we were traumatized, or you know, we have issues with certain things. So instead of facing it and dealing with it, we'd rather cover it up and just, you know, move on. And that actually leaves a little bit of ourselves in that situation. And obviously over time, the more you leave behind, the less you have now. So as you say, it's about gathering up those parts, facing up to the issue, resolving it, integrating it back, ourselves back.
Yes. So in a way, if you think about it, us not wanting to look, you know, at the issues that are bothering us, suppressing or not even remembering it at sometimes, like we push it so far back that it's not even in our consciousness, it goes into our subconsciousness. And that causes us, you know, issues like we want things to be a certain way, like we have to be, you know, professional at the job, and we can't be talking about you know, our dogs and our babies, but we have to focus on company policy or something. So it's that rigidness, and the workings of spirit and soul, and is that we're moving into a time where it's like, this isn't working anymore. You know, like a lot of us are saying, you know, there's something that's happening. The way things are going, it's not working anymore. So how do we improve? How do we change? What do we want to change to? So that's the journey. Can be external when you like trying to change systems, say in your workplace or, you know, the town that you live, or it can be internal as well. It's like, you know, I've been having this drinking problem, and this isn't working anymore. It's like, I need to do something different, right? It can be that too. It can be many things.
Yeah, there's a lot of different symptoms or feelings that you get, but the main feeling is that it's not working. The path that I'm on is not what I should be doing. It's not the way for me. There's a better way, and it's a heartfelt way. It's a place. It's like we have this world, and somebody came along and just took the heart out of the world, and what we're left with is a bunch of headspace. You know, it's intellectualization, or it's the physicalization. You know, making everything down into its basest instincts, and somewhere in between all that, or that mix, the heart is completely left out. I think it's the key really to advancement, is to understand that the heart is at the center of the universe, of our universe as we perceive it. It's the emotional attachment that a lot of us were missing, me included, and you have to relearn it, and the simplest way is to open up your heart.
Yeah,
it's the key.
So what you're talking about is really the experience of separation or polarity.
Yes.
Like the world says, you know, you have to be this, and because you're a woman, you can't do that. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah, which is bullshit, really.
Yeah. So what's happening with this awakening process is, like, we're realizing this isn't working. How do we get rid of this polarity, this separation?
Yeah.
And it's really becoming one, and it's about union and finding the divinity
and a balance.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that process is going inwards.
Yes.
And it is heart-centered, and it is moving from the mind or the ego state into a more heart state, which is bigger and more expansive, more inclusive, more harmonious.
And I think in order to do that, at least for me anyway, it's like breaking through a barrier. You've constructed these barriers so your heart doesn't want to feel, because your heart knows something is wrong. But your body can function, well, it tries to function without your heart, but your heart just keeps plugging away, and it says, hold on there, there's something wrong, and then you make the breakthrough. You say, oh wow, yeah, that's my heart. Oh, what's that doing there? and then you learn to trust, and then you're eventually guided by it. And I think when that guidance really starts to kick in, then you know that you're starting on a path that seems to be right, balanced, harmonious, and in tune with what you are, what you should be.
So that really is a going in. Well, first the way I experience is, like, first you have to quiet the noise. So maybe you do have to leave that job, maybe you get fired, right? So you get lots of opportunity. Maybe you get sick, you got lots of opportunity to, like, sit and think. And then, like, find all these thoughts and stuff, like, overwhelming you. So then it's like, how do you clear that space? How do you clear that thoughts, that overwhelming, incessant, anxiety and thoughts? So the process for me has been very much going inwards and meditation, and finding the quiet Zen place, so that I can quiet my mind, so that I can actually listen to my heart, because my heart has been you know, aching over the years, saying this isn't working for me, like, so it had to get my attention through illness, right? And really that process of coming together, heart and mind aligning, is then getting you ready for the unity within. And with the unity within, you can feel more balanced, you know, more grounded. That's another thing that can help do grounding. And from that place, then you start opening up to the higher realms. That's when you start getting guidance and your intuition. The intuition's lower, it's actually in the sacral. And listening to your gut, right? So really coming to hear your own voice, back to who you are, finding out who you really are, finding the heart.
I think it's also important if you do spend the time to meditate and contemplate, to clear out all the noise that's in the background in your mind, or you know, all the rushing thoughts that you have or whatever. But you know, if you get to a stage where you can clear them out fairly successfully, it's important to have something else to put back in. Because you know, if you really are an empty can, you're going to rattle pretty loudly. And so, you know, you want to be putting bits of yourself back in there. You want to be putting, you know, building your character, building your emotions, you know, whatever you're deficient or whatever, but have a plan or have some sort of idea about what you want to do, and spend the time to research and to, you know, to look at guides and who's there to help, and get advice on what to put back in, you know, because the more good we put back in ourselves, you know, we replace some bad habits, we should develop good habits. You know, you stop smoking, well, start running or start doing something, you know, something to fill the gap. It's really, it's important that, you know, we consider that as well. So by all means, yes, we have to get that quiet time, as I said, meditation or whatever sort. Unfortunately, that a lot of people run away from the word meditation. They think it's, you know, chanting or mantras or whatever, when really it's just reflection. It can be a quiet walk in the park, and that's my favorite, is just to go off and walk, and that way, you know, I'm doing something which is important for me, but at the same time I'm giving my mind a chance to unravel, to contemplate things that have happened during the day, instead of just cramming everything into my brain and just constantly, and then TV and then radio and then internet and then everything, just cramming, and you don't get a chance to release any of that. And, you know, that energy has to go somewhere. Everything is energy. If it comes in, it has to get out some way. And if you don't give it space, you don't give it time, it's like plugging up your exhaust in your car. Something's going to happen. Yeah.
And from a feminine point of view, like, to find yourself again, it's really, for me, it's been, okay, what do you enjoy? What makes your heart sing? What makes your body happy?
Yeah, dance.
Yeah.
Sing.
Whatever it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Like, sometimes it could be just, you know, collecting stamps.
Yeah.
It could be anything, really.
Right.
Whatever makes your heart sing.
Yeah.
It's a process of, like, really getting to know yourself and really listening to who you are, what your body needs, what your body's telling you, what's your heart saying, where's your emotional state of mind, you know, where's the thoughts, what's happening with the thoughts, and then really, really being kind during this process. You know?
To yourself.
Yeah.
And to everyone else.
Yeah. Kindness to yourself, because it's a hard and long process. It's not an easy thing to go on an awakening journey.
There are many steps. Many steps, but if you take them, and you take them in their stride one by one, with the intention, and it's about intention at this stage, with the intention of, you know, walking through those steps and working through them, And a lot of our issues and that can be worked through. We can work through them. You know, if we can't do it ourselves, we can look for someone who will help. And there are people out there who will help.
Yeah.
Lots of them.
And once you start on this path and you make progress, how do you find this progress? Is it beneficial?
It's, you know, if I look back even a year, you know, when we started this maybe 2-3 years ago.
Well,
it was particularly last year. Yeah, it got very intense. But I'm not the same person that I was, and I don't want to be that person again.
So is that a good thing?
I think it's very good.
Yeah.
For me, yeah. I think I've taken a few steps on the road. I know there's more. I know there's a lot more to go. But at the same time, I want to do it. You know, when you're faced with difficulty, the first thing is leg it. I grew up in an area where that was kind of like a common thing, you know. If there was bad things coming around the corner, you were gone. So it's a bit of a shock to see that now. I'd say, well, okay, what do I have to do? You know, how do I get over this?
So it sounds like really you've stopped running.
Yeah.
And now you've turned to embrace yourself.
Yeah, face up.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the facing up is. You know, it's an element of it, a big element of it. You know, you overcome all those childish things that you had, all the things, you know, bits of things that you would have, you know, you hid from the postman because maybe threw stones at him the day before. Not that I ever did, of course. But yeah, you know, you say, oh, okay, I'm responsible now. This is what responsibility does to me. I own up. I face up. And I have difficulty, I have issues, I have things I've never encountered before in my life, but at the same time, what am I going to do? I'm going to face up to it, and I'm going to try and deal with it. And it's not about doing it perfectly. It's really not about being perfect or doing things perfectly. It's just about doing things our way, but, you know, at the same time, doing it as well as we can. I think that's a big. I mean, you know, with TV and with movies and that, you see the people and they do everything so perfectly. Yeah, but how many takes do they have to do that, you know? 40 takes, 30 takes, you know, you hear about Legend of Kubrick and all these people, like, were absolutely obsessive. Oh, of course, you got Clint Eastwood on the other side. Was the camera running, you know? But yeah. Yeah. You just got to face up. Yeah.
So overall, it's been a very good change, really.
Yeah.
Cool.
Change is good sometimes.
Yes.
Opportunities are good.
Yeah, and I've found for me it's been really a return to wholeness, a return to wellness, a reclaiming of my voice, and to really step up to what I'm really here to do. And my soul mission really is to be the light that I am, and to just be, and then in turn maybe it will help others on their path. Yeah.
We'd like to thank you for tuning in to this message, and we'll hope to have more for you in the future.
Have a good day.
Okay, bye bye.
Cheers.